early. I don't want to be late.
Well, you were sure pressing me hard 4 minutes ago and not be late.
It was 3.
Private.
It's time.
I call this meeting to order. We're started off with the pledge led by our students, Michaela and Jada.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies. We'll start with good news. Mr. Dolson's coming in, but I'll start first. As you just heard, we had our students lead the pledge, but as we decided back in our strategic plan, we're going to have 2 students attend every board meeting. This evening, we are joined by Michaela Sanders and Jada Moore. So welcome, ladies. As I said, please feel free to comment if need be. Just kind of get my attention and we'll work in. Good news. Mr. Dolson, you want to start off with good news? And I have a couple other things, but.
Sure. My job is to talk about homecoming, but it's more than just about a football game. So there's a lot of thank yous that I would like to take a couple moments to. To Bart Northrup, student council, the class advisors, all the class officers for Powder Puff game, and then the dance, and then obviously the event during the game. Mr. Northrup puts a lot into it. And then the parade, we finally got to do the parade for the first time in I think 3 or 4 years. So that was awesome. To Miss Obai, Miss Whiteley, to the art students for going downtown and painting all the downtown stores. That's always really cool to see when we're on the parade route. Mr. Zajac for the Hall of Fame ceremonies. I thought that was outstanding with all those people there. We were fortunate enough as the football program to have 3 members from the 72 team come in and speak to us before the game. And then Andy Popney was there as well and spoke to us at halftime as well. So that was awesome for Mr. Zajac to bring back in. Joe McKincheck with the band and all the alumni. Jen Penikowski, the cheerleading coach with all the cheerleaders there. I turned around and looked around. I'm like, oh my God, like the whole sideline was packed with people. So that was really cool. And then I just thought it was really cool for the fan club to bring in the food trucks that night and kind of make that an experience. So that was really fun. Student section was awesome that night. And then, just our families that we have in the football program, and then our kids. This group of seniors has been through a lot, all the way back to the STEAM centers and everything else. And then, they went through the COVID years and everything. And I think that it's what you're seeing is a very resilient group of students that have been through a lot of adversity. And so when we get on the field or a court or wherever they go, you'll notice that they're very comfortable in adverse situations. That's because they've been dealing with a lot of adversity since they were very young. And I think it's playing out. And then the game obviously was an awesome game and just a really cool experience to get all the kids in. So it was just a really, really fun night and just a lot of support. I was talking to my wife about this, and I hope that people in town kind of see what's going on in the football program and in other programs. For us is what we've said to our parents is we're just really grateful that when everybody just puts the needs of kids and the success of kids first, despite everything else that's going on in our family, and we have a huge Indian football family. We have 300 kids playing football, a lot of different families, but when you put kids first, great things can happen. And so I hope people in the town and the community can kind of use us as a lesson for the bond, and for everything else that we need. Our community is growing, whether people want to admit it or not. And so what you're seeing in the football program, I hope that people can kind of connect to this is what we could do in the community when we're just putting the needs of kids first. And so you're seeing a result of that right now. We have great families. We have great support from the administration, from you guys as board members. And what you're seeing is a result of that. And so things are good right now for us. And it's because a lot of people are coming together and putting the needs of kids first. So we're really grateful as a football program right now to be doing a really good job.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, my daughter was in town for her 20th year class reunion, and I was talking to some of her friends, and they were in awe by how great the stadium looked and all the participation. Now, their class was the first class to graduate from this school, but they played football, everything down at the old high school. And the one of the students said, "Well, I wish we could have had this when we were here," you know. So it was really, really neat.
Yeah, and
So
that's
thanks.
what we in the fan club have been trying to get for a long time, is to make it an experience, and I think that's where we're at
They-
right now. So
I can tell you the 20-year reunion kids were in awe.
cool. Well, we
For
can't
sure.
thank you guys enough for your guys' support as board members, and we really appreciate all you guys do. I know there's a lot of work behind the scenes that you guys do, so we're very thankful for that. Don't think that our kids don't lose sight of that. So thank you for that.
Okay, I have some other good news, but something I forgot to say right from the
Thank
beginning.
you.
Something I forgot to say from the beginning is probably obvious to certainly everybody in the room here and those joining us, that Mr. Hilderly is not here tonight. He is ill. He is here on my computer listening, and he will inject and answer questions as needed. But unfortunately, he's not able to make it. The other thing about the good news that I wanted to bring up was that on Friday we also had the CLC fundraiser, the golf outing. And the golf outing was, we were told at the end that it was the most money ever raised at an event. We had the most teams, and they have the golf ball drop. It was the most balls ever bought. And it was a great event. The Tecumseh Golf Clubs hosted it, and thanks to them for that. The course was beautiful, and the food was great, and we raised a lot of money. So that is certainly good news, because those people do a lot of great things for our schools. So I don't think we have anybody from CLC here today, but thanks to them for all they do. Thanks to the Tecumseh Golf Club for what they did on that. So that's all the good news I have, and then we'll the things that Rick was going to talk about, and we'll certainly have a time later for everyone. Public comment. Do we have any public comment on agenda items? I don't think we do. All right, we'll move on. I go to board agenda, revisions, approval agenda. I do not know of any changes to the agenda. Does anybody have any proposed changes to the agenda?
I move to set the agenda as written.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to support the agenda as written. Roll call vote. Trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Trustee Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Moore.
Aye.
Trustee Simpson.
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The agenda is approved. Schedule reports. Bond committee. Tim, would you like to take over and or talk a little bit about what's going on with the bond committee?
Yep. So Tony, who else went with you? I can't remember. But you guys went out, got some more pictures of.
Oh yeah, Rick and
Yeah.
Tom and
So-
Vic. Yeah.
So those are on the TPS bond website now. We also have the 4-page flyer. It's going to be inserted in the Tecumseh Herald in this week's edition. So every paper will have one of those. And then just waiting on the final approval for the mailer that's going to go out this week. So try to hit them on Friday, Saturday mail. So they'll have it to look over the weekend and so forth. So I think absentee ballots.
25th or something?
Right.
Well, they're
We'll
running a
probably
little late.
mail
I think they're
this week.
running a little late because they wanted to make sure they were right or something. I don't know.
There's
So they're running a little late from the county, but I think they're going out this week. So probably toward the end of the week, I would imagine people will start getting them. So, and then we're working on some Facebook ads as well to drive people to the website so people can learn more about the bond. So,
I was going to bring some of the cards. Do we have did we get the cards from the concession stand? All right, so a couple things. We do have a business card that has the bond, and on the back is the QR code for the website. We'll get those in everybody's hands. We did hand them out to a few people at the football game. Not a lot of people, but we did get some. And then we also, Becky had made, and Mary had done this too. I attended the market on farmers market on Saturday morning, and we put all those cards out on the a table. And I mean, they don't get a lot of traffic at the table there, and the farmers market's kind of winding down, but we are trying to get that card out, and we'll get them all in your hands. So you just give them to people. They can scan the back of the QR code to do that. So there is another meeting tomorrow. The website is up. We'll start marketing that a lot harder now. The pictures are complete. So, I mean, the data's out there. We're not going to be able to tell us they didn't get the information because it's out there. All I got to do is go get it. Any questions about that or comments?
well, and it's really focusing on the why from what we heard from people. So I mean, pictures don't do it justice when you walk through these buildings, but as you can see, there's crumbling bricks off buildings, foundations that need repaired where the brick is crumbling and so forth. So, when you have these old buildings, like an old house or an old tin, it costs a lot more to repair now than it does
Right.
when I was younger. So,
Tell me about it.
yeah. So,
What's the status of the YES committee?
They're,
think they meet
they're meeting tomorrow night.
What are they doing? I mean,
We haven't done anything yet, but they're
Still
meeting,
forming.
they're meeting tomorrow night to kick off.
They're going to meet with a lot of parent groups. And so
I
forth.
think they're
we were-
gonna, I think
Becky and I
they're,
were even talking about, like even at Bush's, like people stand out there and collect money. Maybe Bush's, you'd probably have to get permission from the establishment, wouldn't you? Like if you wanted to hand out stuff outside of the big boy.
I think the YES committee is going to focus on certainly the staff and both teachers and coaches and getting them more involved, and then getting some groups to like Tim said, the parent groups, PTOs,
Right.
that kind of stuff. I mean, obviously, we as a board provide information,
Right.
right? They'll go out and tell people how they should vote, but we just provide information for that. But there is a kickoff meeting tomorrow night for that. I don't know where or what time. It's in the cafeteria. I mean, we need to be careful probably how many of us attend if you want, but I'm not available. But it's probably 7. Yeah. Other questions?
I haven't had a chance to review the website yet. The pictures that were on your flyer, are there more on the website?
Yes,
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
many more.
Each school, it's broken down to each
Right.
school.
Right.
Oh, okay, good.
And
I think that's kind of nice because you can click on the school and see
And-
everything that might be there and what those repairs would be.
And the
And that
business
would be
card-
helpful.
Has the website and all that on it, right?
It does, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
It-
so
it's
does
the
all these
brochures,
flyers.
all these
Okay,
flyers,
yep.
and it's got the QR code and the website too, if you
Okay.
don't know how to use a QR
Uh,
code.
The
Like me.
Yeah.
I'm dating myself.
for each school, it shows a list of things that need to be done and the amount for it.
I'll go look at the website tonight. I
Yep,
haven't yet, but I know when we toured the middle school, what was it 2 years ago we toured it? And the sinks in the bathroom were just ancient.
Yeah.
And there was one, I know they've replaced it now, but there was one drinking fountain it was just unusable from the.
And
Uh,
so we have
or
to,
something, I don't know, it was awful.
as the board in the district, we need to be careful that the bond has very specific things that it can be spent for. So
But I will also, spending it on those specific things allows money to be spent other
That's true.
places.
that's true.
And it's kind of ironic, my daughter was the first one to graduate from this school. My father was the first class to graduate from what is now the middle school. So that tells you how long ago that school was built.
Yeah.
Other questions? We're getting ramped up. We're hitting full steam. All right. Financial report. This is Glenn. Oh, yep.
Also important to note the city and the board will be meeting together in a work session before the next board meeting.
Right. So for those of you that, thank you, Rick, that couldn't hear him, on the next board meeting, which is October 10th, the city council and the Board of Education will be meeting for a workshop at 6 o'clock in the cafeteria. Again, just like we did before, providing information to the city council and just a general discussion on that. So that will be happening on the 10th at 6 o'clock before the next regular scheduled board meeting. Thanks, Rick. All right, Mrs. Glenn.
Good evening, Board. In your financial packet are the financial statements for the month of August of 2022. Cash on hand as of August 31st was $5,139,525.13. The check run for the month of October was $650,785.99. The
For
revenue
August?
for the period of
August.
July and August is $6,478,660.66. Total expenditures for that same period is $3,815,713.53.
Ms. Glenn, you mean August check register?
Yes, August check register. Thank you for the correction.
Okay, I looked through the reports when we got them over the weekend. I don't have any questions. Anybody else have questions? All right, next on the agenda is Mrs. Way. We're going to have an update on the spring state testing data. So I'm gonna move around here so I can see it.
Hope this will work.
Behind you.
Yeah. this slide.
Hey, that seat's taken.
Thank you. Okay, so hopefully you received a copy of this in your packet. Our state testing data from last spring was just unembargoed, so we're able to share it now with the board and with the public. So I just wanted to give you some quick highlights on how we did this past spring. So the first thing that we're going to look at here is the M-STEP, which is the assessment that all 3rd through 8th grade students take in the spring, right after spring break. So the orange bar graph is TPS, the green is the ISD, and blue is the state. So this just shows proficiency percentages and how we compare to the ISD and to the state. This is broken down just in a little bit of a different view. This is for English language arts. So again, orange TPS, the green is the ISD, and blue is the state. So I've highlighted in yellow the top percentage proficiency. So as you can see, in all but 5th grade ELA, we outperformed the ISD and the state.
Is that a composite of all the schools in the county when you look at the ISD?
Yes.
Just to clarify for the audience.
Yes, yep, it's all the schools in our county, how they did percentage proficiency wise. And then this just goes into math for the M-STEP, again, grades 3 through 8, proficiency. TPS is the orange, ISD is green, and the state is blue. And just a little bit more of a detailed look here, you can see that we did pretty well in 4th and 5th grade for math. We were below the state average and also below the county's average for 4th grade math. So something that we'll definitely be paying closer attention to there. And then this is our science. The science assessment is only taken in grades 3 and 8 for the M-STEP. So in 3rd grade, we were at 47% proficient, and in 8th grade, 48% proficient, which pretty much was about 10 percentage points higher than the average for the ISD and for the state. That was some really great proficiency there. Historically, just as a side note, in the past, when we first started taking the science assessment in the for 8th grade, we were looking at around like 7% proficient not that long ago. So we've come a long ways in science. And then this is social studies, which is also only tested in grades 3rd and 8th. So we were below the state average and the ISD's average for 3rd grade. And for 8th grade, we were above. So just a reminder, science and social studies are both up for curriculum review this year. So we'll be looking closely at that data. We know that social studies at the elementary level is not, the #1 focus. So it's something that we need to be looking at. The great news is with our new ELA curriculum, a lot of social studies is embedded into that. So that will be, should help boost that up as well.
Is it because it's the M-STEP, we can't look at a national comparison as well?
Right. This is the Michigan state assessment. Yes. Yeah. Good question. And this is just a look between the previous year and this year. If it's green with a plus sign, that means growth. If it's red with a minus sign, that means we dipped a little bit. So again, 5th grade math, or English language arts, was an area that we dipped a little bit in, and then 5th and 6th grade for math.
So just a question on this slide.
Yeah.
But if we want to see how a particular class is doing, so for example, if we look at the 3rd grade English language arts last year was 45.7, and they've moved to 48.1.
Right.
So they've had some growth. How are you, but look at 3rd grade for math went from 39.4 to 28.9. So it's not actually a growth, right? It's actually if you think about the subjects in the data.
Right. So this is more when thinking about this, we want to look at our proficiency with those standards. So how are those teachers doing with covering those standards and proficiency on those standards? You could take a different look at it and look to see how the kids grew from one year to the next. But again, you're not measuring the same set of standards. You're measuring a different set of standards cumulatively as well.
So what data can we use to measure learning loss?
Measure learning loss. So we typically will look at our own district assessments that we do, our benchmark assessments. You can monitor how students are doing. They show reports on how they've done from year to year, if they've continued to increase. They set goals for students, so you can take a deeper look specifically at students or even at the whole grade at that with our benchmark assessments. It's quicker. It's, we're getting this now in the fall. This was administered last spring. We get benchmark assessment results immediately. It's more user-friendly data.
Do we have a time for learning loss testing results? Is there a plan yet for that to be reported?
Specifically meaning?
Well, this is good to know.
Mm-hmm.
To Suzanne's point, I see 30% or 40% or 26%, and I know national rates as well. It doesn't give me necessarily a warm, fuzzy feeling about how our kids in Tecumseh are doing, or in Michigan for that matter.
Right.
But one big concern, especially with the pandemic, was learning loss. So if this doesn't provide to us some learning loss data, when will the board actually see learning loss data?
Don't you think the negatives could be some learning loss?
Right.
Well, I mean, obviously, if you went down from one year to the next, there's some loss of learning.
Right.
Overall.
Right. So like what Lynn is saying, you're looking at a different set of students. So last year's fifth graders are now this year's sixth graders, right? So when you look at it that way, it's a little bit different of a
Okay,
view.
so fourth in 2021 and fifth here. But what I see going through, and you have more slides?
Yeah, sure. Okay. And then just science and social studies. So when I look at that eighth grade, the science, that growth of 34 percentage points is really something that we should be celebrating at our middle school level. That's great growth there for that science department. And then social studies, third grade, again, that's an area that we're recognizing as needing improvement. And then eighth grade went up 8 percentage points as well. So, yep. And then this moves into the high school, the SATs. So again, this is taken in 11th grade. So there's two areas that they measure. They measure evidence-based reading and writing, and they measure math. So as you can see, again, same thing. We have orange is TPS, the green is ISD, and blue is the state. And then the same breakdown, just outperforming the ISD average and the state average by quite a bit for the reading and writing. Math, we are outperforming, but as you can see across the state and ISD, it's significantly lower than our reading and writing. And then total proficiency, which means students have to be proficient in both, meet that cut score to be considered total proficient. So, and then just our average score for the SAT there. And I just put a side note that a score of a 1050 is around the 50th percentile. So we're under that 50th percentile mark, but doing better than the state average and the rest of the county.
So this is what are now our seniors.
Yes. Yep. I think that was it. Oh, and then comparison data. So, it's not a full percentage point drop. We're maintaining, hovering around the same proficiency as we were last year for our SAT.
Megan, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I apologize. So for our current bond issue, I've had folks on social media that have been looking up our scores, and they see 36% and 46%, and they're like, well, that's an F. Can you explain how those scores are done? That it's not an ABCD type score. Could you explain what those numbers
Right.
mean,
There's a set of standards. They measure the standards, and they get this proficiency percentage. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're failing the assessments. Now, if you get a 30%, that does look scary. But historically, like math, I'm assuming you're talking about, math.
It was math and reading specifically that was pointed out to me that, well, if they're getting these Fs, why do they, you're not doing better if you're getting an F.
Right.
You're not reading the score correctly, but as a professional, I thought you could probably explain it better than I.
Yeah, it's not like you're getting an F, a 30%. It's that proficiency, and kids come really close to proficiency. We have a lot of students that are past proficiency, they're advanced, and kids who are partially proficient, meaning they're pretty darn close, but they weren't quite there yet. It's not just a Tecumseh problem; it's a state of Michigan problem, specifically in the area of math. The state has identified that. Science as well. Those are areas that we know as a state, as a county, that we need to improve in. It's not a standalone Tecumseh thing. It's something that the state is looking closely at right now.
So when it says LISD, is that the average of all the schools in our county?
Yes, correct.
Are there any schools in the, like, one individual school in the county that outscores us that you know of?
We do have that data. We were a top performer for most or within the top 3. There's pockets here and there. There's not like one school that
Somebody
stands
may
out.
beat us in one subject, and that's it.
In having that discussion, I kind of went through a lot of the data, and we were almost always either beating them or tied.
Yeah.
With one other in the district, so.
We're doing
Or
very
in the
well as far as the county goes. Yeah. In
Can we see
comparison.
that again, other counties?
I'm sure that you could. I don't get that on my data hub. I can search by Lenawee County, but I'm sure that there's ways that we could get that to figure that out.
All the state testing is actually on our website. There's a little
Yeah.
badge
Right.
there that you can go and
Yeah,
and you
the
can download all day
transparency.
long and look
Right.
at
Yeah.
all the
Excel
Excel files and
One of the
everything.
things that I kind of noticed, is, look through this in preparation to me, it seems like 5th grade's a problem. I don't think it's just this 5th grade, it just seems like we're struggling in 5th grade. I mean, did I misinterpret that, or do you see that?
No, I've noticed that over the years too. It's a major transition year for our students as well. I don't think it's unique to Tecumseh though. I've
But
seen
we
that.
still were behind other areas, right? So they all have the same thing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's something, I know that's when they're coming to the middle school, right? So
Yeah.
it is a transition area. So, I wonder if there's not something we can do. It just seems like it's kind of a little hiccup area for us.
For
So I'd
sure.
like to ask, maybe look at, to have the staff, I don't
Does this allow you to look at, like, compare teachers? Like, we're both 5th grade teachers, but his kids became more proficient than my kids.
We could break it down by the student level and look at that. It doesn't break it down by class on its own. You would have to, yeah,
I
go
mean,
student by student.
Because there might be somebody who's really getting it right.
Right.
then
And our
you might
benchmark
compare that.
data gives us that information as administrators pretty well too. And we can break things down by class and that's more usable data for us. This is kind of
Our own data.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I don't know, I guess that would just be something I'd say, hey, let's just maybe have a little brainstorming session here. It just seems like, and they seem like they're catching up, right? But I know it's a big, they're coming to the big school, there's lots of distractions, but they
Yeah.
don't take it till spring, so they should have, they've got 4, 5, 6, whatever months.
Yeah.
They should be in a rhythm by now.
So we take this in April, or is it?
Yep, in April, right after spring break. That was one of the reasons we moved up the spring break this year too, because they were getting back after spring break and starting that first day. So this gives us a little.
Can you go back to PSAT scores?
Sure. The SAT?
Yeah, it was PSAT for the,
The eighth grade.
8th grade is PSAT. It's called PSAT. Yeah.
right.
hmm
What-
Which one do you want to look at?
haven't seen PSAT yet.
I think you just
I did.
listed 8.
Anything that's 8th grade is technically considered PSAT.
Okay, because because what I saw was, once we got the PSAT section, which is national, we bounced quite a bit ahead
It
compared to
says
just.
PASD on the ELA one.
It could be
and
how
the
it's.
math one.
On EOA,
Yeah, all the 8th grade is right there. You
There,
talking about
yes,
there?
yes.
Yep. So that's for math. 8th grade's
If
PSAT.
you look, we were behind the state in 2 categories, but
We jumped up.
PSAT, we all of a sudden got,
It's also not the same testing method though.
pardon me,
It's also not the same testing method.
I
To
know
your
that.
point, Tony, I wonder
got-
if it would be different.
So like you're looking at 7th grade to 8th grade
So
from
they're
about a
already in a big
47 to a 74.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's got to be just the way that,
Yeah.
It'd be an
it's
interesting
whatever the
study.
standards are to being held to,
yeah, if we get a big, Mr. Brooks just brought this up, if we get a big school, the kids are already in a big school, as opposed to transitioning to a big school.
Yeah,
We'll be a little curious to see that,
Well, they're
but.
kind of isolated, so I don't know if I'm buying that whole,
Well, I'm
I
just
mean,
saying.
it is a bigger school. I
If-
see what
I
you're saying.
wonder if that would, if there's some anxiety there. It'd be an interesting thing to see.
Yeah. Like, right, if we built the school, all of a sudden it changed.
Right.
Well, I think the answer to that is if at the LISD at state level, you see the same dip in but studies don't really show size of schools to affect that. So, you know, my concern is especially in math, and I've been in a lot of meetings lately about math proficiency in the state of Michigan and the nation. When the dip comes in the fourth grade, you know, that's really kind of the point of occurrence. It's kind of third into fourth grade, in that it keeps dipping into fifth. So I think that's a concern, and I understand how the scores and everything come together, and I think that's important because there are bands, but
We can do better.
we can do better. And again,
Well, we're not, I
So
mean,
we
also
started
think
getting the
we have
data
some
together, and
positives
tracking
here.
things.
Yeah.
and-
what's
We have
that?
a lot
well,
of
I think
positives.
state data we've always had.
Oh, there's a lot of positives
Yeah.
We
here.
have a lot of positives and we just you know, we're
Promise
on
we should
year
come to
2
that
of
one.
math, so that's gonna take some time. And I'd like to think that summer school would go a long way. I don't know any other school in the county that's doing a retention summer. I mean, it isn't for retention, I mean, it's enrichment that everyone can have. I'd like to think that would definitely help greatly with catch up and some of the things that kids need to have to keep their skills sharp.
Right, preventing the summer slide.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but is there a way for us to see, it could be with the state data or with the internal data? I think the internal data is more difficult because we've just started utilizing tools that allow us to do that kind of longitudinal study of data. But is there a way for us to see, I mean, there's a little bit of it, but multiple years, so that we could start to see, you know, is curriculum improving? Maybe, you know, highlighted where we changed the curriculum and start to understand how many years it takes for that to really
Yeah.
affect scoring. But, you know, this is just my major concern is learning loss.
Yeah.
And I still haven't seen anything as a board member that talks about learning loss. And we are, every year that we don't see that data and we don't understand it, we don't put resources towards it. And that's another year closer to graduation and college and advanced technical training or whatever that we're missing. So if there's some way that we could maybe see some learning loss data, and I'll talk to Mr. Hilderly about it as well too,
But I do think, I mean, in general, it's very positive, right? We just want to,
Yeah, very positive.
we want to make, you know, where we're just dragging behind, we want to do better, right? I mean, so that's all. I mean, I think we all take a lot of pride that, you know, academically, we're one of the, if not the strongest school in the county,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And I'm guaranteed the other boards are sitting around figuring out how to do better, and all we need to do is better every day as well. So,
Absolutely.
but thanks for pulling this together.
thank you.
Thanks,
You're welcome,
Megan.
Thank you.
All right, discussion items, preschool employees wage and benefit. This came out of the policy committee. Tim, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we had a policy meeting and we met with one of our attorneys from Troon, Lisa Schwim. Okay, Swim.
Like swimming.
And essentially she took a hatchet to that agreement. So it went down to 8 pages. It's in your packet that you can review. It was originally a bargaining agreement, but they're not a bargaining unit. And so she had to take all the bargaining unit language out of it. So, so it's in here for your review. And if you have any edits or anything you'd like to see, just ship it back to Mr. Hilderly, and then we'll meet again if we have to. And
Yeah, I think she did a good job.
yeah,
So it looked like there were lots of things. I mean, we kind of, although they're not a bargaining unit, we followed the teachers' contracts pretty closely, right? I mean, the benefits kind of match.
But a lot of the wording was not.
Well, I know. I mean, but in general, if you talk about insurance, it's very.
yeah, the benefits are
And
still
time
in
off
there.
and stuff like
Time
that.
off, yep,
Yeah.
it's all in there. So it's more of a,
Guideline.
yeah, well, a handbook, I would say. you know,
Handbook, yeah.
Yeah, so. Yep. And, you know, I think as a policy committee, we probably ought to have one this ought to be a handbook for everyone that this would apply to, and then their wages in there, so.
Tony, as we moved it to a policy that we have for how we're gonna support preschool employees, rather than drawing up a contract with a group that really couldn't and didn't want to identify.
Right. So what Mr. Hilderly just says, he likes the word policy. It's a policy manual for that group. So, but that's what we did. We took it and it's not a bargained agreement. It's a policy. Choose what word you want. Handbook. I think I didn't print it out, but
What were the major changes just about the bargaining language? Or lack
Yeah.
thereof,
Mhm.
Do you
and
need it,
Yep.
Tony?
no, I got it.
then the long-term leave.
Yeah, I do have.
Yeah,
I have one.
quite
I do have one comment, but I'm going to hold it because it's still kind of an employee HR issue that I'll talk to Rick about that. So
That would be a result in a change in that.
yeah.
That's it.
Does anybody else have any questions for the policy committee on that?
You'll keep us updated on whatever it is you.
I will. I will. Again, it's just an HR issue that for me to discuss it, I'd want to
No,
go
I
to
get
closed
it.
session. I don't
Right.
think it's necessary. All right. We don't have any action items, so we'll move on to the consent agenda.
I move to set the consent agenda with one item, minutes from the regular board meeting of September 12th, 2022.
Support.
Second.
We moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Roll call vote. Trustee Tomlin,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Lewis,
Aye.
trustee Davis,
Aye.
trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Just kind of stepping back, we'll try to vote on that at the 10th on this agreement. So any changes that were made that may
Yeah,
have would
yeah.
come out in that packet
Yeah.
to do that.
So
So,
we'll have a policy meeting before then anyway.
Right.
If we need to. So.
yeah, we wouldn't make change about the policy.
Is
So,
there a date you all want questions? 5, so that the policy committee has enough time.
do you know when the next policy meeting is?
It's the first Wednesday of every month.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's not till like one.
Which is not that far away. So it's a
Next
week
week.
from tomorrow is a policy meeting. So any changes you might have or questions, let's get them to the policy committee before that so we
No,
can vote
sorry.
on this
I'm sorry, it's on the 12th.
the 12th. So we have
Yeah.
2 weeks. But we want to get this. Oh, it's on the 12th.
Yeah.
So we won't be able to do it on the
So we'll
10th.
have to wait till the 24th. to vote
Okay.
on it. So,
We're getting really close here.
Yep.
So, all right, items scheduled for next agenda. I guess I was going to say the policy committee, but the preschool wage and benefit, but we'll probably move that to the second one. We certainly have the workshop for the city, and then there'll be other bits of good news. All right. Moving on to agenda, the closing, public comment. Is there any, in accordance with the Open Meeting Act, board provides the opportunity for public comment. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. All right, hold on, let me get the minute here. So once you start talking, then you'll hear the beeper go off, okay?
Okay.
All right,
Can I ask questions too? I mean, because I'm here to represent preschool. So I was the one who put the.
I'm not sure the board will answer them, but you can certainly,
Okay, let me just say what I have to say first.
yeah, this is a comment. We're not supposed to answer questions.
That's fine. So I took the wording from the instructional assistance contract, and they're not a bargaining unit either. So I guess I'm just confused as to what the questions are that the policy committee has about it, because all of the benefits and time off and all of those things we already received before this was put into place. We wanted to put this into place because we hadn't been allowed to have any sort of raise for the 5 years that I was here, and Carrie, you were here for 7 before we saw any sort of significant raise, and that's what we got this year. Well, we didn't know we were getting that raise when we started this last spring. So we wanted to put something in place because much of what we do is similar to what the teachers do, and we still have to have degrees and do a lot of the same things that they do with professional development and all that stuff. And we were trying to be separated from the other hourly employees because we're not the same as them. We aren't salary, which is something we would like to be, but that's something we haven't gotten to yet. But we thought that maybe this could be the start of that. So I guess I'm just confused as to why the policy committee has so many problems with our contract, because all of the basic wording came from the instructional assistant contract. And that's what it's called. It's what it's called on the website. It's called a contract, but now we have a problem with preschool calling it a contract. So I don't know. I'm just confused why we're still doing this a year and a half later and we still haven't come to any sort of conclusion. Because like I said, everything in there is basically exactly the way it was before we had a contract, except for the wage increases over the next couple of years. So I didn't ask a question, but I did share a lot of information that I thought was relevant. So
Thank you.
thank you.
I think Mr. Hilderly can address some of that with you. There's been a change, and I think I would suggest you talk to Mr. Hilderly about that. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Any other public comment? All right. Board member comments discussion, including our visiting board members. Anybody?
Okay, so I was looking at the PSAT scores, and I think they're really high because when I took the PSAT 4 times before I took the SAT, so I think we were really prepared to take the SAT, which is why we scored really high. I took the PSAT in 8th grade, 1 in 9th grade, and 2 times in 10th grade. And even after I took them, we did classes here at the high school. We did like SAT prep, and even in my English class and my math class, we kind of I think I had really good teachers that broke it down because they took my PSAT scores. They did this for every kid that they had, and they broke it down like where you were struggling, and they gave you questions based on that. So I saw growth every year that I took my PSAT until I took my actual SAT, and I scored pretty well on my SAT. And I think that I was really prepared to take the SAT because of what I did to get there. So I think that's why the SAT was really good. That was my personal. That's what I missed.
Thanks a lot for sharing
Thank you
that.
so
It's
much.
really
Yeah, that's very good.
interesting to know that a teacher would take that time for each student and break that down. That must have made you feel a lot more confident.
I took the PSAT. It was required in 8th grade to take it, and then required in 10th grade to take it. But I took it 2 more times when they offered to take it, just because. And I think it really helped me personally because I got a better understanding of what the test looked like and how the questions were worded and what, even in like English class, 11th grade before we took the SAT, we took a lot of time doing, like Mr. Northrup took a lot of time doing SAT prep and working on writing essays with us. So we were really prepared to take the actual test. So.
How many kids participated in that? Would you say a quarter of your
So
class or
in our English class, it was required, but we got a lot of
Well, that's good.
participation. I mean, everyone did it, but I think it benefited everyone. So.
All right, good.
I agree with him.
Rick, I may have just deleted Rick, but anybody else have comments?
Jeez.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
You deleted him.
You may not be here from my
Just
computer.
sit.
Let's just see if
I
it's
do.
Gone. He's gone.
Just tell them it was over.
Mary has a comment. I do, Tony.
Oh,
I just
he
wanted
is
to
here.
thank the middle school
Okay.
counseling staff and the administration. And I would like to thank Miss Foley, who came out of her old realm and went back and did yoga. We had a very successful Be Kind to Your Mind Day last Wednesday. We had great participation from alumni. Some high school students volunteered, even talked a little bit with younger kids about bullying and how they can take action or how they can choose to be friends and reduce some of their stress by being friends with other people and how to reduce stress in a lot of different ways. And I just want to thank the staff and all of the people who volunteered. I think we had over 65 volunteers come in that day, in addition to a nationally known guest speaker who spoke about finding your passion. So they should be complimented. The schedule worked out really great. The counselors spent a lot of time on it.
It's impressive, 65 volunteers. Okay. Other comments?
I think the nice thing that happened, but I don't know who's responsible for it. Mr. Dolson's here. He probably knows. My grandkids, when I saw them Friday afternoon, were all excited because the football players and cheerleaders came to their school and they got to see them. And that was, I didn't know that was going to happen, and because my daughter said, "Well, who's in charge?" I don't know. I didn't know it was going to happen, but it certainly made a difference to the young kids. And I think in the spirit of homecoming, that was a good thing because it isn't just a parade. They look at those big kids as like my grandkids are never going to see a professional athlete, or not likely to anyway. And to see, I mean, like you I've watched you play volleyball. Sorry, Michaela, never seen you swim. But I know they gravitate towards looking at players like that. All of it. But I mean, some people stand out. It's just a neat thing that they aspire to be like that. And the important thing is make sure they understand that when you're on a team that, it's everybody pitches in.
Anybody else? All right, kind of said my piece before with the homecoming and the CLC, so I have nothing else. Anybody else? Last call. I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Support.
Been moved to second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Meeting adjourned.